5 main reasons from my point of view why so many people in the younger generations are single and unmarried. And for reference, the numbers are crazy.
Women telling other women that they can do better and the better is choosing themselves and staying away from men is right. Men telling men that they can do better and the better is you probably shouldn't have access to any woman, but I'm going to convince you that all you got to do is go to the gym and get a job and you can have access to every woman. I think that side is wrong. And that's the advice that men are getting versus the advice that women are getting.
What is an incel?
They're just angry and frustrated young men who are in the position where they have convinced themselves that they are unable to ever be able to have sex.
I may not be the smartest guy. I never claim to be. I never want to be the smartest guy. I'm not the most insightful guy. All these things don't need to be said, but I feel like I need to say them before I have this conversation. Because when I tell you that I am 1000% sure, I am 1000%, I know what I'm saying when it comes to this, and I don't like boasting that. I am so confident in what I'm about to discuss right now that I need for people to understand that I am like I'm deathly serious about this. Deathly serious about this. I know exactly why men are lonely. I know exactly why men are single. Do I care that men are single? No, I don't. I don't care because unlike a lot of people, I don't think romantic relationships are promised to anybody, nor do I think they should be. So if you're single, you're single. You could be single by choice, or you could be single by you being a terrible person, or you could be single because you're not that likable, or whatever the case may be. But one thing I know about human nature and our socialization is if you are a human with a pulse and you want to find somebody, you probably can. Like, I just want to let you know that, like, if you want to find somebody, you probably can. Now, what the person's gonna look like, what the person's gonna act like that's up, that's up to you and whatever, right? But I'm just saying you can find somebody if that's all it is. You just don't want to be single. You can be with somebody. So it's not just about being single. That's why I don't get caught up in that. Lonely, I do care about men being alone. I do. I don't like the fact that men have not figured out a way to forge healthy relationships and build strong community amongst other men. That is something that I'm deeply concerned with. And I'm not going to touch on that in this video. I mainly want to focus on why the men are single for now, because I got a whole other thing for the friendship stuff coming up here later on. But I 100% know exactly why men are single. I know without a doubt. Like, and I'm not saying every man. I'm not saying this is why every man is single. I'm saying this is why men in general are single. And I talk about it all the time on my channel, all the time. I tell men why they are single every day. Granted, I'm not a dating coach. I'm not Dr. Love or nothing like that, because we talk about everything on this page. We talk about the patriarchy. We talk about capitalism. We talk about racism. We talk about fat phobia. We talk about homophobia, transphobia, transmisia. We talk about children's rights. But all of these things are connected to why men are single. Not any one of these things is the reason, but all of these things are the reasons. All of these things are connected to why men are single. Every single one of them. Right? And that's why I get so, like, y'all know that meme when the dude like takes his headphones off and he's like mad or whatever, like the air, like it was like he works at like an air controller. He's like an air controller or something. Like, that's why I get mad when I hear men like this talking about why men are single, why people are single nowadays, because they're just yapping. Like, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is like there are so many things we could talk about, and this is what you want to focus on. This is crazy.
5 main reasons from my point of view why so many people in the younger generations are single and unmarried. And for reference, the numbers are crazy compared to previous generations. In 1970, 80% of people were married by the time they hit the age of 30.
That is because women were forced to be in relationships with men. Citing that that stat as if like those generations were better at building relationships or healthy relationships is hilarious. I want you guys to know something right now, without a doubt. Our relationships in 2026 are exponentially better than the relationships in 1926, 1956, 1986, 1996, hell, even 2006. I just want you guys to know that. Our relationships right now are better. They're healthier. Are they healthy? No. Overall, no. Are they healthier than they've ever been in this country? Yes. Yeah. And that is 100% due to women having autonomy. That is linked to women's autonomy. That has a reverberating effect in throughout relationships, throughout the health of relationships, right? Women being able to choose, being able to leave men when they want to leave men, for the most part. We know there's a bunch of abusive men out there, but for the most part, women having that autonomy has forced men to be better people. Even if it's ever so slightly, it has forced men to be better people. It has forced men to treat women better. Therefore, the relationships are better than they were 50 years ago or 60 years ago. So citing some shit like that without bringing up context shows me off the bat, A, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're a fucking grifter. Might be a little of both.
Right now, it's at 30%. And 50% of all people under the age of 30 are single in general, which is so much higher compared to every generation that preceded us. And spoiler alert, you will notice a commonality across every single reason that I list. It all kind of stems from the same thing. Reason number one, and you know I'm going to say it, it's social media. Gen Z is the most socially connected generation while also being the most socially disconnected generation of all time. And you would think in theory, social media is a good tool that would enable you to be connected with other people. Like you can literally, through the power of your phone, connect with any person across the entire world through the click of a button. And you would think that would be a good thing, but that's not what it does. The fact that social media exists has actually prevented and hindered people from interacting with one another face to face like they did in every generation before us. Because you have the power to send pictures of yourself to them all the time or text them all the time. You don't actually get to practice your verbal skills, your articulation, your approachability, your vulnerability towards other humans. You don't get to do it anymore because you're just doing everything on social media. This also means that there are fewer third places or shared spaces where people are mingling and meeting each other because they don't go to them anymore. This used to be churches or clubs or local communities. If you like to do art or pottery, you would go and you would meet someone there. The gym. People don't approach anyone anymore because they have the fallback option of going on social media and looking them up and stalking them and seeing everything about them before they actually go out into the world and take a chance on talking to someone in person.
So he actually kind of beat me to it, but if you listen to what he's saying, I disagree that social media is the reason why people are, in the way that he's trying to frame it, right? Social media is neither a good nor a bad thing. It's neither a good nor a bad thing. It's a thing. It's a thing. It's similar to when I talk about masculinity in general, and I talk about like the attributes about that can be ascribed to masculinity, and one of them is like strength. And I'm like, strength isn't a good or a bad thing. Because if you're a strong bully, then you're bad. But if you're a strong helper, then you're great, right? Social media can be bad, depending on how you use it. So he kind of touched on it right now, though. If you meet a person in real life and then you go look up their social media and their social media turns you off, then you just saved yourself the time. You just saved yourself a lot of time from wasting time on a date with the person. And here's the kicker. Here's the part that he doesn't mention. You don't have to be a piece of shit. Like you go look at my social media, whatever. I know people don't like me or whatever on social media, but I'm proud of my social media footprint. I'm talking about since the time I got on social media, I'm proud of my social media footprint. Not to say I've been perfect, but I'm proud of it though. You go back to my earliest days on Facebook or MySpace, even go back to MySpace, go back to Black Planet. Like I'm proud of my social media footprint for since I got on the internet, because I got on social media, right? It doesn't, I have been a terrible person at times, but I didn't, I didn't, it didn't, I was bad in a different way. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't reflect in how I like viewed the world, I would say. How I looked at the world. I had some things I needed to heal from personally, but when I, when I would think about things holistically, I was able to be empathetic. I was able to have reason, you know what I'm saying? And all those things, even before I really started doing heavy unpacking in my early 20s, way even before all of this. You know what I'm saying? So if I can avoid being a piece of shit, you see what I mean? Like that's why I'm not giving y'all any fucking grace. Because I know me, I'm like, I'm not like, who the fuck am I? I'm like the most, like, I would be a prime candidate for you to look at my social media and be like, oh, this motherfucker I should be like that, I'm saying, based on how I grew up and based on the things I was exposed to. But I never went down that path. So if I could go on your social media, I go on your social media, I start fucking scrolling up and you got problematic shit on there. The brand of comedy is whatever. I go look at your following list. You're following a bunch of women that twerk all day long, which I don't have no problem with women that twerk all day long. Don't get me wrong, but whatever I'm saying. And I've talked to men about this. I go on a man's social media page and it's full of fucking sports, and I'm sitting there like, what woman do you think would be okay with you being that obsessed with sports? If I go to your social media page and it's all fucking sports, you're a weirdo. I don't want to deal with you. If I go to your social media page and I'll be honest with you, I'm putting myself in the shoes of women for a second, and you got a bunch of fucking workout videos and you're ripped and you're in the gym, I know to you that's a turn on. And there are a lot of women that would be into that, but I think most women would find that to be a turn off. I think most women would be like, he's obsessive. They're watching you meal prep and it's fucking white rice, broccoli, and chicken. Like, don't nobody like that's a turn off for the women. So I'm just telling you that it ain't that. It is not simply the inception of social media that is doing this. It is the way people present on social media, right? This dude trying to make it seem like just the fact that social media exists and that people have access to you, that's the thing that's messing up the dating market. No. That's not it at all. And why would I, again, lastly, to his point, why would I want to waste my time if I could fall back to, I could just go on dating apps and I have access to a bunch of people, right?
So there's less face-to-face interaction. If you go out into public and you make eye contact with someone for 1 second, they honestly get scared most of the time and they look away because they're so used to having their head buried in their phone. No one knows how to give off good social cues anymore. Girls don't give off good social cues to guys. Guys don't know how to receive a good social cue and go up and approach a girl. It's a terrible issue. And this leads to my second point, that each individual that is on social media has their own individual culture and their own algorithm that they are growing up in. There is no commonality between genders. The content I am consuming, I guarantee you, is a million times different from the content that a woman my exact same age is consuming. And that is not how it was in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s.
Exactly. Again, this is a good thing. This is not a bad thing. Listen to what he's saying. It's almost like he's a genius, but he's not.
I am consuming, I guarantee you, is a million times different from the content that a woman my exact same age is consuming. And that is not how it was in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the early 2000s. People used to have cultural events that they would all see. They would all take in the same news, the same movies, the same events. Everyone would go to the same places. That doesn't exist now because
that's called indoctrination. That's called propaganda. Yeah, we all have. I just got done watching a documentary on the Ed Sullivan Show. The Ed Sullivan Show started in the 1950s. There was only fucking 3 TV stations and 6 shows on network, on network television. Everybody watched the Ed Sullivan Show. And in one thing, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, one thing is like, oh, that's cool. But in another thing, it's like that show was, it was too influential. It was no show should be that influential simply because of a lack of diversity. And there's no shade to Ed Sullivan because I actually respect that man. Rest in peace. But I'm saying the Ed Sullivan show shouldn't have been that powerful. It shouldn't have been that powerful. Had there been 15 shows like his, it probably wouldn't have been. It probably wouldn't have been, right? And if you end up being, nowadays, if you end up being influential, it is typically because you like earned it. You have set yourself apart. So if everybody is tuning into you, that, to his point, that's rare. So if you can do that, you're fucking awesome. You're doing something right, right? In most cases, don't get me wrong. In most cases, though, right? That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing that the women of Gen Z haven't been propagandized to think, to feel whatever the same way as their counterparts do, right? Their male counterparts. Like, that's not good. That's not a good thing. Because it gives off the illusion that we all feel the same and we think the same and you know, but that's not true. If that were true, the proof that that's not true, brother, is the fact that you just brought up, that all of our algorithms are different. That's the proof. If we all were the same, then all of our algorithms would look the same. But your algorithm looks different than a woman of your generation. And we'll get to that in a minute. There's a reason why. But that's not a bad thing. That's good.
There's streaming services all over the place. Our Instagram Reels are different algorithms. Our TikTok Reels or TikToks are different algorithms. Each one of us is getting fed something different. And because people are consuming different algorithms, both sides have voices that essentially clash with one another. They don't mesh. They're headbutting with one another. I could dive into that for 10 minutes.
That's good. That's good. One side is challenging another side. And let's see who wins. That's good. That's not bad. Different schools of thought, good. Singular school of thought, bad.
It's on the advice guys are hearing compared to the advice women are hearing. It just doesn't ever line up. But the one thing that does line up between both algorithms across genders is that this side is telling guys they can do better and this side is telling women that they can do better. And that leads to nobody actually getting together and trying to do something with a normal human being.
One of those sides is right and one of those sides is wrong. Which side do you think is right? I can tell you, women telling other women that they can do better and the better is choosing themselves and staying away from men is right. Men telling men that they can do better and the better is you probably shouldn't have access to any woman, but I'm going to convince you that all you got to do is go to the gym and get a job and you can have access to every woman. I think that side is wrong. And that's the advice that men are getting versus the advice that women are getting.
And honestly, that's a perfect segue into point number 3 with people thinking that they can do better. Dating apps. Once again, in theory, dating apps would be a great thing. You'd think, oh, if we're online all the time, we can create something that makes the perfect.
Dating apps are neither good nor bad. Again, the problem with dating apps are the people on the dating apps, number one. Number two, it is the algorithm. Don't get me wrong. It's the way that the dating, the business model for the dating app is to keep you hooked. But the people on the dating apps is the number one driver of the dating app. Just FYI. So basically what I'm saying is if men treated women better, then the dating apps would be awesome. Men fucked up dating. Men are the reason why dating is so bad for men and women. It's men that fucked it up. Because it's either men are fucking it up for women by being weird and by being abusive, or it's men I fucked it up by being weird and abusive towards women, and now women are acting accordingly because they're reacting to the way that they're being treated by men. So now they have to protect themselves. But either way, it goes back to men's behavior.
Guy match with the perfect women, and then they can just get together and get married and have kids and live a happy life. Not how it works. And here's the problem that I have with dating apps. Dating apps essentially are encouraging people to meet up with individuals that they would not meet if they were going about their normal lives. For example, you can find someone on a dating app in my shoes. I could see someone on a dating app that is a 10 out of 10 looks wise. Another reason why they suck. You're evaluating someone basically on their looks. So I could see someone on the app, they look 10 out of 10.
You're doing that in real life too. You're evaluating somebody on their looks because you don't know them.
Send them a like, we start talking, and then we go out, we have dinner, we do something, but we don't mesh with one another. Why? Because would we ever cross paths on a normal basis? If I was going about my life and this woman was going about her life, would our paths align if we were doing what we like to do?
Again, this is so goofy. That doesn't matter. I mean, for the most part, people aren't really meeting people. When you talk about common places and common spaces, people aren't meeting people like women and men. It's not like men and women are mostly. I'm not saying this never happens. It's not like men and women are mostly meeting people like this dude is in he's in the sports and he meets a woman at a sporting event. Like that's not common. That's not where men are meeting women at. There's mostly men there, right? So that's not what it is. That's not what it is. This is actually a good thing. And this goes against what the incels be talking about. Oh, the women, basically it's always like the incels feel like the women don't give the men a chance, right? That's usually the thing. Oh, they just can't see me for who I am. Oh, the apps give you a fucking chance. The apps give you a chance. The dudes who are typically too afraid to go approach women, they're not like the apps actually even things out, you would think. But you men are so fucking terrible.
Probably not. We might be going this way, but the dating app is you're forcing it together. You're forcing two people together that shouldn't actually be with each other.
Also, that's because men are lying on their profiles. And men are swiping on every single woman. Again, these are the behaviors of the men, brother.
It works out for some people, which is great. But yeah, it's so flawed and it doesn't work most of the time. And it also goes back to my first point. The fact that dating apps exist gives people a reason to not approach people in public because they have the fail-safe, right? You can see someone beautiful in public and be like, oh, I really want to go up and talk to her. And then you don't do it because, number one, you haven't done the reps, you haven't had the volume. And number two, oh, I can find someone like that on a dating app. And it's just constant validation, constant comparison. You can always have unlimited options. For most of these dating apps, you can position yourself in a different part of the globe from where you currently reside. I think in the 1940s, 20% of the people that got married to someone that lived within 3 blocks of their house. Now, I can say that I live in Moscow and I can go start swiping on Hinge in Moscow. It's awful. And if we're being honest, no one wants to say that they met their spouse on a dating app. No one wants to be at their wedding and explain to everyone how you guys met on Hinge.
That's cap. They actually have dating app weddings now. You're an idiot. You're too young. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. One of my good friends got married not too long ago. It was the last wedding I went to like 2 years ago, maybe. And they had a Bumble book because they met on Bumble. They had like a Bumble, like a scrapbook. And it had like pictures and it showed us like their profiles and how they matched and like it walked us down the whole line and you got to like see their whole relationship up until the day they got married. They're still married. They just had their first baby. They bought a house together. They're both wildly successful, like all the things. And yeah, they were very proud that they met on a dating app. They had no shame in it. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Wedding and explain to everyone how you guys met on Hinge because it's not romantic. Everyone thinks you're forcing it. In the back of everyone's minds at that wedding, they think that you guys are going to divorce because you met on a dating app.
I just noticed he has on a cross. So this is starting to make sense now what he's saying. I'm starting to understand because I'm trying to figure out what the fuck is this? Where is his angle? What is his angle? But I'm starting to see now. He has a cross around his neck.
Point 4. This is one that I think women miss a lot when they talk about the dating issue, but it is that so many people are addicted to the P word. The adult content industry is probably going to be worth $500 billion with a T.
How are women missing this? Women don't even consume porn. Not nearly as much as men do. And B, women do know how porn is affecting men negatively because they're the ones experiencing it on the other end.
$1 trillion by the time we hit 2030. There are currently OF models that make more money than superstar NBA players, which is unbelievable. If you don't believe me, search it up because it's a real thing. These people are getting flooded with money, and that's just on OF. There are so many people addicted to the P word because
People meaning men. So where do women come into play? See how this is why how I know all these dudes are always insidious. They're always trying to convince women to lower their standards, right? So the OF industry is built on the backs of desperate men, married men most of the time. I would suspect. He's not talking about the men. He mentioned the women and what women don't understand. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you even going on about here, brother?
it gives them a constant rush of dopamine. And what does that do in the long run? If you're addicted to the P word and you keep pleasuring yourself over and over and over again, there's no point for you to go out into the real world and seek a real relationship because through your mind, you're like, oh, why would I want to go through all that work when I can just go online and see anything? Literally, you can find anything. And it's terrible because it's so addictive and people cannot stop. And when people understand that it's an issue, there's a certain level of guilt, shame, laziness, lack of self confidence that comes with it. This is also why people don't approach other people in public because they don't know how to interact with a real woman because all they spend their time on is the P word. Women, you can tell when a guy is addicted
It sounds like, doesn't it sound all like rooted in male behavior? It's so odd.
to the P word. If you make eye contact with them and they dart their eyes away within half a second, there is a lack of self confidence within them for a reason. And I'd say 9 times out of 10 stems from that issue. All right, so we're already at 7 minutes, but point five is financial pressure, in my opinion. There's a significant amount of financial pressure on so many people to provide and to get out of debt. Our country is in severe debt, and I see people going around and spending money that they don't have left and right. How are people going to raise a family? How are people going to have a down payment on a house when they don't know how to save money or they don't have money to save in the first place?
Couples make couples have more money than single folk. Like if you're in a relationship, collectively, you have more money than you would if both of you guys were single. Just FYI.
I'm fortunate enough to be in a good spot because I was smart. I had great parents that raised me and taught me how to manage my finances properly. But there's so many people that won't date because they feel like they cannot pay for a first date, which is crazy. It's a problem. And if they can't pay a first date, how can you expect them to be confident enough to be the masculine figure in the household, to raise up a family, to raise kids? The birth
The masculine figure in the house, huh? People. It's so odd. I'm listening to you, brother. So all of this was just a ploy to like manipulate women and like, oh man, it's so the reason why dating is so messed up is because you women have such high standards. Like that's pretty much what you wanted to say. But that's so far from the truth.
Oh, where the hell do we come in all this? As I mentioned, we've now studied many of these groups. I'm a documentary maker. So what I do is spend time with people. And a lot of these things have become way more mainstream in recent years. When I was kind of looking into the world of inceldom, for example, a few years ago for Channel 4 in the UK, and it's now on Hulu in the States, I met a bunch of guys in this space. So what is an incel? An incel, it means involuntarily celibate. It's many describe themselves as unable to find romantic or sexual partners due to immutable traits like their physical appearance and social status. There's a character in that film called D, and D goes on this journey with me that when I met him, he's a kind of young guy living in the UK, and he kind of had this like nihilistic sense of the world where like he just thought he just wasn't good looking enough, he wasn't socially adept enough to meet a woman ever.
What is an incel?
They're just angry and frustrated young men who are in the position where they have convinced themselves that they are unable to ever be able to have sex.
And it kind of led to this sense that like, life was a bit pointless. He was never going to find love, and love was the thing he wanted more than anything.
To me, it's just accepting the genetic truth of being born inferior person.
And he was like so terminally online that like, to the point that even though he was British, he had started to have an American accent. And it kind of shows you just how the internet can become an actual place that these people exist on. And it feels like a physical reality. He did have some pretty extreme views around women, I think. And a lot of that just clearly stemmed from just hardly ever interacting with women.
So the reason why men, this is why I want to show you guys this is getting into why men are actually not able to forge relationships with women. Because remember what he said. Remember what that dude said in the other video. He was talking about what are men hearing online versus what women are hearing online. That is what men are hearing online. Men are hearing that you're just born ugly and women only choose men for their looks, and therefore you're never going to have access to a woman. That is what men are hearing online. That's what boys are hearing online. You think women are hearing that? No, absolutely not.
Kind of range from seeing women as like subhuman, focusing on really unusual aspects of femininity, and then also putting women on this strange pedestal of this thing that he could never quite achieve, and then hating women for not really interacting with him and not making him feel valued. So much of it is just spending so much time buried on subreddits, on Discord, so detached from reality. And that's why in that film, you know, I asked him what it was he wanted kind of more than anything, and he explained to me that it was to kind of spend time outside and to talk to a woman and just talk honestly and openly, because, you know, with his parents, he couldn't talk to them. He didn't have any friends to kind of check himself, to get that kind of social proof around, like, am I making any sense? So we kind of arranged for him to talk to a woman in that film. And it was mega illuminative, to be honest. You know, at least for that time, it did change the way he thought. I then made a documentary kind of expanding from that, looking into the world of looks maxing, communities of men that analyze facial features using pseudoscientific metrics like jaw angles, cantal tilt, facial thirds. I actually got told my cantal tilt was downward because I was aging. They practice kind of deliberately optimizing their appearance, grooming, fitness, style, skincare, and then in the extreme cases, surgery. So like we filmed the guy literally doing leg lengthening. He was getting like 2 to 3 inches taller. It cost him like over $100,000.
I was around 5'9".
And what are you now?
It's pretty much 6 foot.
What was the rationale? Like, why?
If you want to go into leadership positions, you can be charismatic, you can be good looking, you can be tall. So it was one of the extra tools at my toolkit, essentially.
All because he kind of had the sense that you need to be over 6 foot in order to attract women. I think there's elements of this, like, you know, I'm not saying it's all absolute bullshit. Obviously, looks do matter. Looks are important. There's a lot of evidence showing like the halo effect. Good looking people have an easier life. So I'm not.
This is true. I can agree with this, with the good, you know, looks effect, but to me, the problem is that men who aren't that good looking, who aren't that conventionally good looking, they have like what I call like the anime effect, which is, and I haven't watched much anime, but in pretty much every anime that I've ever seen, there is like a boy, like a nerdy boy, like the men and the boys are like just girl obsessed, woman obsessed, right? And the men, even the boys and the men in a lot of the animes are just like nerds and they're like underdogs. Like, that's always like a part of the appeal. And the women are like so attractive, you know, how they make the characters. Like you could tell, like the woman or the girl, she's like the bee's knees. She's the most popular girl. She's, you know, she's built and she, you know, whatever, right? And they're like longing for this girl. And I'm like, that's y'all problem. It's not to say you can't get a girl like that. I don't whatever, but it's you guys aren't looking for partnership. You're not looking for somebody that you actually get along with. You're looking for a woman to validate you. That is your problem, is that you're looking for a woman to validate you. That is the issue. And a lot of these men fall into that trap, and that's how they get into this looks maxing and trying to be taller and doing all this stuff, because they in their mind, they're like, I need to get with the most attractive woman I can get to catapult my popularity amongst men. Because the more attractive the woman I get, the more popular I become by proxy. That is the problem. And again, if you listen to what's going on, these are the things that men are being exposed to. That is why dating sucks. Dating doesn't suck because women and men, there's just a disconnect and we just don't know why. And women are being told sprinkle, sprinkle, and men are being told whatever the fuck this is. Like, that's not what it is. Men are obsessed with the validation from other men, and men's political views and women's political views are vastly different. Vastly different. And it makes it really hard to come together and have meaningful conversations when your politics is, I think that children deserve health care and I think we should stop bombing, you know, developing countries. And another person's politics is, well, Trump is king and there's nothing that he can do that's wrong, and America is the best and we're all lucky to be here, and so on and so on and so on. And people need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Yes, my parents paid for me to go to college, but that who cares, right? They just worked hard. Yeah, their great grandparents were slave owners. Yeah, my granddad was given a house, when he got out of the military. He got his GI Bill paid for his home. Yeah, and they passed that home down for the last 4 or 5 generations. Yeah, my family benefited from the Homestead Act, but yeah, we did it through hard work. And you just need to work harder. If it's hard to have a conversation with those types of people if you believe something different. And these are the real reasons. These are the real reasons why people are struggling in relationships. It is because of the behaviors of men. It is because the political leanings of both men and women have gone up, down, left, right, whatever you want to say, but they're moving in the wrong direction. It's not social media. It's not, when I say that, I'm saying it's not simply social media. It's not simply the dating apps. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. It's the dating apps are created. Men get on the dating apps and they lie to women. That's the problem. The social media is created. Men get on the dating apps. They tell the woman that no, they didn't vote for Trump. She finds his page and he got fucking MAGA everywhere on there. That's the problem. The problem is the women are looking at your pages and you're not an interesting human being, and they're seeing that. And it's easier to do that when you meet a person in person. You can just mirror them, which a lot of men do. They just mirror women. They steal women's personalities and then feed it back to them slowly. Because most men don't have personalities. Most men, to that man's point, most men have a similar mindset, because the patriarchy is very rigid. Misogyny is very rigid. The cult of man is very rigid. And you cannot step outside of those things or you will be admonished. And that is why men and women are struggling with dating. And that is why men and women are struggling in relationships.